different world. Like, it's a totally different world.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Designer Future podcast. I've got Muriel on with me today. Muriel, go ahead and introduce yourself for me.
Hi, Olley. Hi, everybody. I'm Muriel Foley. I'm from Cork in Ireland. I've been working in digital marketing for over 8 years. 4 of those I spent in Toronto and Canada, working with a lot of global brands through an agency, and been back in Ireland now with 2.5 years. Worked in an agency in Ireland. I'm now out on my own. I have my own digital marketing consultancy called MGFD. And yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Nice, wicked. So firstly, this is obviously the first time we've sort of connected as well. So I think it's always a good thing for me to just go off the back of what people sort of say. What was it like going from actually working within an agency? Because I think you're one of the first couple of people I've spoke to this, hasn't just been working your typical 9 to 5 and then started their own agency. You was actually working in an agency and then developed your own side. So tell me a little bit how you sort of transitioned from that.
Yeah, so I've always wanted to have my own thing and do things my own way. I'm not really stubborn, but you have a vision where you're like, oh, I'd love to do it this way. So I've always kind of wanted to do my own thing, have my own business. And like, I learned so much being an agency, particularly the agency in Toronto, just having access to the partnerships with Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and Pinterest and Twitter and Google, and you're learning from all these people, and you're kind of building your own vision around the knowledge that you're gaining. And from that, like, I'm truly grateful that I was able to work on big brands and look at how other brands do things and how it can be applied to smaller business too, because not everybody has all those zeros on the end of their budgets. So yeah, I just always had that kind of entrepreneurship, like, what if? So yeah, so from that, I just kind of decided to branch out by myself, pluck the parts of what I loved about working in my previous jobs and apply them to what I wanted to do full time. And yeah, it's worked. So, I mean, it's busy, and I think people kind of underestimate how crazy it can be as an entrepreneur, but yeah, I'm enjoying the ride so far.
Amazing. So if someone just jumped onto this video, for example, and they like typed in, how to make money online or how to start an agency, for example, how would you sort of dumb it down to someone that's never heard of a marketing agency? What do you do for these clients that allows you to get paid by them, essentially?
Yeah, so what I like to think of myself as is, there's a business owner who wouldn't be, we'll say, an agency, right? There's somebody who owns a shoe company or a retail store, or they provide a service, like they could be a chiropractor or a dentist, and they are focused on this one thing, but they know that they need marketing, and they know that they need to embrace all of this online world, and it's not their forte. Like, when you study to become a certain person, or if you have a certain brand or product, you don't get taught how to market it. You just learn the discipline. So what agencies and what marketing consultants do is we take that stress off, and we help build that bank of content and help promote you in a way that we can find who your customers are. We can target people who we know will become your next customers. We'll keep people engaged, and just basically take that stress out that you might have of, like, something that could take you 2 hours to create for one post could take somebody like me or anybody in an agency 10 minutes. So it's like having an accountant. Like, I'm not the best when it comes to that kind of thing. Like, it would take me so long to file tax returns and do VAT returns. So I know that it's in my best interest to have an accountant, because it would take me so long to do something that would take them much less time, and they would do it correctly. So that's how I would really describe what a marketing consultant does, or an agency does, is they take that stress out of, the, like, having to learn how to use all these apps and these new social media sites. And sure, people are on TikTok these days, I don't know what that is, and they dismiss it, and they miss out on, targeting the right people. So I like being a part of taking that stress out for somebody when they're like, oh my God, I don't know how to do this. And then like I've been called like the digital panic button by someone, which I actually quite like, because
I
I'm
love
like,
that. Yeah, I love that.
yeah. So it's like, they're like, oh my God, oh my God. And then I'm like, okay, all you have to do is this. And then I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. So yeah, that's like in a very large nutshell. That's how I would describe it.
Wicked, cool. So what's sort of motivating you now moving forward? Obviously, getting out of being on someone else's hours, working a 9 to 5, but obviously now you've sort of established yourself. What's sort of pushing you forward at this point?
So, well, I'm a huge nerd when it comes to like digital marketing. So I love when somebody comes to me and they're like, I'm a mess. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've been running campaigns, don't know who I'm reaching. I'm not tracking anything, so help. And then it's just diving in, like rolling up my sleeves, looking at all their data, analyzing everything, and then finding where their pain points are and finding where they're completely wasting their money, and then educating them on what they can do. So I don't necessarily do a lot of retainers because I like to do project-based things. So I would kind of describe myself as like, do you know, those two women that go into those houses and the houses are like really dirty?
Don't even. Well, not the home edit.
Like, no, it's like
Yeah.
Kim and Aggie or something. And they had like the pink gloves and they clean the whole house, and then they go out and everyone's like, oh, I can see everything now. And it's great.
Is it called the home edit?
I don't know.
Oh, I was about to say, because I literally like rinsed the whole series of that a couple of weekends ago. I'm a bit like that.
Yeah, but
I like that. That's a good
yeah.
analogy.
So it's like they don't know what's going on, but they're kind of just adding fuel to the fire. They're like, oh, we'll boost a few campaigns. Hate it. And we'll throw something out. We'll put up like it's only Monday post, and like that's fine, and like it's just not the right way to go. So I'll come in. I'll basically restructure everything. If they have an in-house team, I'll upskill them, I'll train them, give them the tools that they need to drive a new strategy forward. I'll work on strategy planning. So then when I'm finished with the project, they know what they did wrong, they know what they're doing right and what to do more of. Their team is comfortable with using these new tools and practices, and they have a strategy to roll out. So I'm like, tick, and then I get such like a thrill from people who are like, oh, that's how you do it, or oh my God, I get it now, or thank you, and that to me is like why I do what I do, because it allows me to really focus on projects and focus on that. Now I do have some retainer clients that I do more projects with, that's fine too, but I do get that value. I provide that value for people where they just need that little bit of help, but they don't want to maybe go with an agency for a full retainer. They just need that one person to come in, fix what's going on, and then just set them on the right track.
Amazing. And I think that's quite important as well for the people looking at like running their own agency, because it's all very much so, oh, you need to do retainers, when it sort of takes away from the point that you also need to be able to know what your clients actually need. If they don't need that help, then you shouldn't go in there and try and force it. If they only need you to go in there for a day and, like Muriel said, actually just advise them, then that's always going to be a better option. That's really cool. So running a marketing agency, I'm guessing you're on your laptop a lot, you're on your phone a lot. One question I love to ask is, if I was to come and hijack your phone and I was to delete 3 apps from your phone, what would those 3 apps be that you'd really struggle without? Speaking of applications I can't live without, today's podcast is brought to you by Lead Pages. Lead Pages is the application I use to create all of my landing pages and websites for myself and all of my clients. At the moment, you can get a free 14-day trial by clicking the first link in the description.
As in that I really, really need.
Yeah, so if I was to come in, delete all of those apps, what are those apps going to be that you'd really struggle with?
My notes.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so my notes, I if you're a creative person, or if you were that person who in the shower you're like, I wish I had a waterproof notebook, and like as you're falling asleep you're like, I wish that there was some form of glow in the dark notebook in this room. So that's me. I have my notes and my app, or my notes app on my phone is my baby. It has all of the ideas for content. even like some ideas for clients, things that to remind me of like what's going on. And like that's my main thing, that if it was gone from my app, like I think I'd probably have to hunt you down, and I don't know, like if you took that away from me, I don't think I could deal with it. LinkedIn is another one.
Mm-hmm.
I really do love LinkedIn, and it's, for me, it's network like builder. I actually prefer networking on LinkedIn than on Instagram sometimes, because I just feel like it cuts through a lot of noise and it's very focused on our industry. And I mean, then it's a toss up between Instagram and TikTok.
Okay, cool. So
Yeah.
talk to me a little bit about TikTok while we're there. What's your sort of views on it at the moment? I know there's a lot of talk with TikTok at the moment.
Yeah, I love TikTok. I started so when lockdown hit, I really wanted to focus on the algorithm and study it and post content, test hashtags, because we had that little bit of extra time that I just used it to break that up, and the user numbers on it was incredible at the time. So it was great to like really find out what people were there for. So I became addicted to it then, because I was like, I'm using it for research, but also I was like swiping all the time, like, oh. I did not dance for once, and I'm so proud of myself. But yeah, and it was just like I created a YouTube kind of series off the back of it, then just kind of informing businesses what it's like to be on TikTok, because I think people had this impression that it's just young people dancing around their rooms and using words like, you know, simp and, you know, no love and like all these words that people are like, I don't understand what it means. But really, it's like there's a whole other side to TikTok, and you don't have to dance around the place or hop on all of these trends just to get noticed. Like
Sure.
there's a lot of small businesses doing very, very well on TikTok. So yeah, so it was just educating them on that. And then like, I just think it's great for even learning how to create short form video and getting your message out in, you know, that kind of 15 to 60-second window of like portrait content versus this landscape long form, which we've all been used to. So it's great to teach like us how to be more creative in that space, and the editing capabilities on TikTok are insane. So yeah, I think it's a great app, even if you're just like a content creator and you want to learn a little bit more about how to make your videos look that bit better, sleeker. I would just go on it and publish just private videos and play around with transitions and text and sounds.
Sure, yeah, and that's definitely one thing I agree with, is the editing capability on TikTok. I think is insane, and I think I know obviously you said about the younger generation using it and stuff like that, but some of the videos that they are creating are unbelievable, considering it they're just literally making them with their phone and editing in TikTok. All the transitions and the crazy camera tricks and stuff they're using, I think it's really, really good. So being an entrepreneur and a business owner yourself, I'm guessing you're doing a lot of studying, you know, always feeding your brain with new information and, you know, finding out quicker and simpler ways to do things.
Yeah.
What would be one resource, whether that's a course that you've taken, a book that you've read, something along those lines? What would one resource be that you'd suggest someone to have a little look through if they're just starting their own business?
So I tend to, I know this is like, but I tend to not read books about digital marketing, just because I feel like they go out of date so fast that it's so hard. Like I wrote a book right now about here's the best practices for digital marketing. By the time it's published, then at least 10 things in the book would be invalid. So I like following people like Neil Patel. I think he's a very good resource for information. He's really to the point and he doesn't have an ego. So I prefer learning from somebody like him and his team and looking at his site and his blog for really informed content that doesn't kind of have an ego on it, where it's like, I'm going to talk about myself for 10 minutes and then I'm going to give you information in the last 30 seconds. Like, to me, I prefer looking at the hard facts. But then things like if you're starting out and if you're interested in the likes of social media, like Social Media Examiner or Social Media Today, they're really good resources for free step-by-step guides or what's happening in the world as it happens in this industry. So I look at those resources at least once or twice a day, because if something new happens, I'm like, I need to find out what this is, how it works, and keep informed, because I think that books just tend to get dated quite quick.
Amazing, cool. So, you know, working by yourself, bringing on new clients and stuff like that. One question I get a lot is, what's the best outreach method? You know, how do you reach out to clients? What's one way or a couple of ways that sort of worked for you in the past, and how do you sort of approach that need of getting new clients on a monthly basis?
Yeah. So I've been like very, very lucky that when I launched my business, so I finished up in my previous agency on the Friday, and then I just decided on the Monday I'm going to just launch the business. I didn't wait around. So there was that interim of the 2 days where I was like, just create a website yourself. It's fine. Oh my God, I got no sleep that weekend. So I just literally was like, I'm just going to launch. I'm not even going to like wait around. And because of that, like I had kind of built a little bit of a network for myself anyway. Like before launching, I had a good like connection with people on LinkedIn and Instagram. I did some event speaking, so people knew that I was a credible source. I lecture in in Cork Institute of Technology here, so again adding to credibility. So when I launched, and when I kind of just said, like, my plan was, say you're launched, take the week off, and then, you know, if there's a couple of leads in your inbox the following week, brilliant, it's a start. I launched, and within the end of my first day, I already had like 4 or 5 definite clients. And then by the end of the week, I had to push people off to like the following month because I was at capacity already. So the fact that what I had done, and my advice to anybody who wants to start their own business and have a client base who may not necessarily have a big network right now, is just start to position yourself as, I don't like the word expert, I think that it's but more as like a thought leader, you know, like find something like a niche that you are passionate about, that you're interested in, and that you know you have enough experience with it behind you that you can give really relevant and grounded information to somebody through your Instagram or your LinkedIn or your Twitter, wherever you're building your own personal brand, so that when people think of, we'll say, social media advertising, they think, oh, Olley, or, you know, Muriel, or like just because they've seen you talk about it and you have that knowledge behind you. So that when you decide to launch, that it is related to what you've been talking about or what you're known for, so that people are like, oh, I can finally work with you on your own. And like, they may not have been able to afford the agency fees from my previous agencies, and now they're like, we can't, we'll say, afford, like we said earlier, that big retainer for, you know, X amount of months or a minimum of a year, that we'd love to just work on this project with you. And that was the majority of my clients when I started out, with people who were like, I've been wanting to work with you for a while, but I couldn't afford, you know, to have a retainer with an agency. So now I'd love to work with you for like, to, you know, for a couple of weeks or for a month, and like get me going on this, and this, because I had positioned myself as a person who was knowledgeable in that area. So for me, honestly, like, the clients have been, like, I've been very lucky, as I said, like, they have been coming in, but I haven't been selling, and I haven't been like hustling to get them, because what I do is my videos that I put out on my channels, you know, every week. So a few days a week, I create content based on an update that's happened. I'll use it, I'll see, is it valuable to share this information, and I'll break it down for people. And those videos that I'm providing, you know, to people, where it's this information that they can take in and digest very easily, again, is showcasing what I can do, but in a way that people are getting information and I'm not selling. So that's how I've been getting clients, is because of the videos that I'm sharing. And they're like, okay, I don't want to do that myself, can you do it for me? So it was like an unexpected like client gainer that I hadn't planned.
And I think that's really, really important, because a lot of people, like I said, come to me and they'll ask, what's the best form of outreach? What's the best form? The best form of outreach, people, is inbound leads. Like, and Muriel was telling you exactly what I would say is, creating content is going to be the most valuable thing you can do, instead of spamming 100 people a day. You know, buy my service, buy my service, buy my service. No, if you can get in front of the camera and do what Muriel said, give people value, you're doing yourself a serious justice, because people essentially, with buying anything, whether it's online or it's a physical product, they need to get over that trust hump. And what Muriel was doing by creating daily content, if someone might be watching her content for the whole month, they might watch every single video. And you think if she says on the last day of the month, oh, I'm doing free consultation calls at the moment to see if we're a good fit. You think that a person that's watched her videos every day for a month is going to basically eat her hand off at that opportunity. So no, I think that's definitely a very, very good piece of advice. So whereabouts are you posting content at the moment for the people watching and listening?
I'm posting it on LinkedIn and Instagram and then Facebook and Twitter sometimes. But really it's it's hard. I think Facebook can sometimes be a hard lead generator for my industry. But I think that Instagram and LinkedIn have that area where you feel more comfortable, if somebody reaches out to you where they feel like they're getting to know you that bit more. So I get direct messages and I get instant messages from people on those two platforms in particular. So I really focus in on when I'm creating content, I create it for those screens first. And then, Twitter Twitter's not great for video content. It gets really grainy. I hate that it does that. Don't know why it does that, but it does it for so many people. But anyway, so I just kind of put it there as and Facebook is kind of there and it's linked to my Instagram, but I don't really use it as a massive sales pitch. But I build my Instagram profile. I have my stories to just develop things further. But I develop it for the aesthetic of my Instagram. So the look and feel of my videos are kind of in a consistent flow that it suits the aesthetic of Instagram, but it's sized perfectly for LinkedIn so that if people are watching the video, it's not getting cut off or they don't have to tap it to see it in full. It's there and it's auto playing. So that's kind of where my head goes first, is to those two channels that I know are my lead generators. Sure. And I just try to kind of be everywhere, but be kind of master the two main platforms first.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and that's another key thing we say is mastering those two platforms and then repurposing the content for these other platforms just to make sure you're not completely forgotten on these other places. So have you got any tips for someone that, let's say they've just come across this video and they're ready to pull the trigger on starting their own social media agency? What would be your advice on getting going?
I would say I just dove right into my business, and
that's the key though. That's the key. Figure it out as you go along.
Yeah. So I honestly don't think looking back, because I was chasing my tail for at least the first month and a bit with just admin stuff. And I was why didn't I take that week? But honestly, I think that if you constantly push it off, right? So if you're on the verge and you're I'm almost ready, but am I, or am I? And then that fear kicks in. It's just do it, just launch. And I would say from the start, be consistent. So if you are a social media agency, you need to be creating your own content. And obviously client work is a priority, but try not to slip. Try not to get too busy that your posts become less of a priority, because you need to remain consistent in order to gain more traction on your channels and gain that, credibility. So make time for your business as well as your clients, and keep that consistency no matter how busy you are, because it's so easy to fall off the wagon and be I'm really busy this week, so I'm going to just not put a single thing on my social channels. And then that becomes 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. And then you're too conscious to post. And then all of a sudden people are are they still in business? Are they good? Can I message them? So so I would say as much energy and passion as you put into your client projects, put it into your brand as well. Because you need to, yes, you've launched, yes, you've created that logo, that website, that social media channel. It looks amazing, but you need to keep that buzz going. So have a plan for yourself, map it out, and then stick to that in addition to your client work.
Yeah, and just to add to that, what's your sort of your views on sort of maintaining it from a business perspective and your personal brand perspective? Are you obviously concentrating more on creating content as Muriel, or as, I think you said, MGM
MGFD. Yeah.
MGFD. So yeah,
Yeah.
so talk to me, because that's another thing that I get a lot is
Mm.
people come into this whole game and they're like, okay, I need to make my company's website. I need to do this. I need to do that. And it's like, okay, but you haven't got any clients yet. And
Mm-hmm.
I think like myself and you, you're obviously pushing a lot of stuff as like your personal brand. So talk to me a little bit about why you've gone for like personal brand over sort of marketing the business itself.
I just feel like for me, I know that using things like business pages and just having MGFD with no name attached to it, it can be quite cold. And it's hard to get to know a company when it's like, we think, or like, this is what we have. And like making, you know, what annoys me is when people are like one person, you know, in a company, and they're like, we're so happy. And you're like, I know that you are the only person in this company. But anyway, but it's just adding more of a personal touch to it, right? So like, yes, in time, if I expand and I have 20 people working for me, MGFD, you know, will be more of like a brand. Whereas right now it's Muriel Foley. And then people are like, what's the name of your company again? And I'm okay with that because I'm like, I'm that consultant. Oh, are you kind of frozen there a teeny bit?
Yeah, I got you. It's all good.
Okay. So it's like, you know, I'd rather people want to work with me because of the fact that they've gotten to know me through my content and gotten to know my personal brand. So there's credibility there. And that, you know, if they pick up the phone and they ring the number for MGFD, that they're going to be talking to me, and I'm okay with that. So I'd rather build the personal brand and have your, you know, my logo in the background, or have my logo present, and have the website to pick up any leads then that people, you know, when people are searching for my service, that they might just be looking for the service and not know who they want to work with yet. So I have my website there to pick that up.
Sure.
And I just have obviously my logo present and my branding there, but I would be the main person in the business. So I want that to be the main focus point for content.
For sure, yeah. And sorry, just to touch on what you said there, personal branding is so key because of, like you said, people build up that trust with you, and you become an authority as a personal brand. And like you said, being the personal brand, if you're just running the business and then you're the face of that business and you're just creating like personal brand content, I think it will sort of overlap. And by what Muriel said, if someone finds your website and then find your personal brand, that is when stuff is just going to seriously hit home, because they've already seen the business, they know what the business does, and then they'll find Muriel and see, oh, you know, she's posting her own content every single day, not exactly related with the business itself, but it's showing her knowledge on what the business itself provides as service. So you mentioned about teams, having a team and you know, working by yourself and stuff like that. So what does your day-to-day look like now? Are you like hiring team members? Have you got freelancers doing certain projects and stuff like that now?
So right now it's me doing all my client work, and then I have a lovely referral freelancer network that I'm building all of the time. So if I'm at capacity, for example, then if it's a client project that they're like, we need this done like yesterday, then I won't just be like, yeah, I'll take it on, and then work really late at night and do a terrible job. I'd rather be like, look, honestly, I won't have capacity for that until next month, but I have an amazing person who's very, very good and who I trust, who would do that for you. And I would refer that to one of my, you know, lovely network freelancing like friend, or like somebody I've met and I know their work. But I won't refer that business unless I know that that person can do what they do, because that's technically an extension of who you are, right? So if I say, go to this person, they'll take care of you, and that person is like not doing a good job, then that falls back on me for making that referral. So I right now am in this lovely space with like a network of people who are small business owners like myself, who specialize in the likes of, you know, like PPC, SEO, social media content creation and ads, that if I'm at capacity, I'm like, I will pass them along to those people. But I work with other partners for the likes of like graphic design or videography, which wouldn't be my forte, but I would do storyboarding and planning. But to use the physical tools, I'd be like, I have, you know, partners who I will team up with and work with for those things. So I'm happy with what's going on right now with my structure, that it's me, but I don't feel alone. So I
Sure.
have this lovely network around me too.
Sure. And just one last question to touch
Yeah.
on that. Going from working in an agency, obviously having all of these people around you on a day-to-day basis, what has that transition been like to obviously working from home by yourself? You touched on like being lonely and like being out of that sort of environment. How has that sort of been?
Yeah.
I know everyone's working from home now, so it's sort of like
Yeah, I think it's less, it's kind of less isolating, because everybody is so used to being at home and, you know, working from home and like just talking to their colleagues over Zoom. So a lot of my clients and a lot of work, like I would be in at least 2 meetings, maybe 3 meetings every day. So whether that's via
really?
Zoom, yeah, so whether that's via Zoom or whether it's in person, then I'm still having that human contact with people, where I'm so used to Zoom now that I feel like we're just in a room sitting coffee, or, you know, sipping coffee, like chatting. This to me isn't like, I feel like that's the new kind of conversation. Did I lose you there for a minute?
Yeah,
Am I
no,
back?
I got you. Yeah.
I'm here. So I think I actually work from a shared office space a couple of days a week as well. So
Nice.
you know, like they're the next.
I've done it for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's great because you get that sense of like camaraderie and like chats by the water fountain.
Yeah.
And you're still able to get your work done, but I like that, and like I try to keep my evenings where I like meet a friend or like go for a walk. And I think once you have that in your day, then it's not like I'm stuck in, you know, a cave from Monday to Friday with nobody to talk to.
24/7 as well.
Yeah. So I definitely think that it's not like it's, and I, like, as I said, I have that network of like freelancers as well. And I think honestly, if you are looking at launching your business, you need fellow business owners to be able to go to and bounce things off. And like, even just things like, how did you do your first like VAT return, or is it okay to feel like you're chasing your tail in the first month? And like, they're the people who are just like, yep, yeah, that's fine. Oh, that's normal. Oh, were you up until 4 a.m.? Yep, same. Like, that's nice, because like, it's nice to be surrounded by people who have either experienced it or are going through it at the same time. So I would say, if you're thinking about launching a business, find a network of people who you know you can support, but who'll also support you, because it's a different world. Like, it's a totally different world.
Definitely. And yeah, one thing to touch on that is, if you are just getting started, like a lot of people that I speak to are like, don't do free trials. But I think there's a difference between doing a free trial and going out of your way to help a local business and establishing a relationship with local business owners. You haven't got to do a free trial for them, but if you've got something of value that you can bring to them, and you're not saying, oh, give me all of your money, then you're definitely going to establish a good relationship with these local business owners. And like Muriel said, she gets a lot of referrals from people she's worked with before. So building up that authority, you haven't always got to go and put a price tag on it, especially if you're still in your 9 to 5 and you're doing this as like a little side gig. Please don't be afraid to go out and just provide value to people first. That's perfect. So the podcast is called Design a Future. So with that being said, where are you hoping to be in the next year? You know, I'd love to have you on a couple of months' time and sort of keep up to date with your progress.
I'm really happy the way I am now. I think that if I'm still working on like client projects, and just like, if I can say like, oh, I've really helped like 50 business owners, you know, in the past year, or 100, or however much, and just like feeling that passion and continuous, like that rewarding sense of what I do, like I just want that to continue and just keep growing and evolving through whatever we're going through right now in the world. But yeah, I'm pretty content with where I am now, and I think like I just want to keep driving this forward and keep working with amazing clients, and just like you know, finding like these really cool, quirky projects where maybe somebody's completely like, I hate digital, and then I'm like, but look at you now. So yeah, so those kind of transitions I'm like really happy to be part of, and I just want to keep doing it and keep driving this on, and like that's, to me, that's growth.
Amazing. Well, best of luck moving forward, and thank you so much for coming on.
Cheers, Olley.
Thank you guys for watching and listening at home, and I shall see you in the next episode. Take care, guys. Bye-bye. Hey, what? Nah, 106.